We are Rogue Media Sports.
A lot can happen between falling in love with a house online and owning it, between imagining living there and breathing in your new home for the first time. Having an advocate who can help you navigate the complex world of financing, inspections, negotiating, analyzing the market, and talking through any anxieties that may pop up, that can make all the difference. That's what the expertise of a Realtor can do for you. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors and bound by a code of ethics, because that's who we are.
Hey, it's Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
On today's podcast, Record Store Day founder Carrie Colleton is joining us to discuss the April 20th RSD special releases.
Plus, we'll talk live with our audience, the Sound Up Pod Squad, and find out who still listens to vinyl. And some updates from the Beatles universe.
Oh, good. Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Matt Mosley of the Doomsday podcast, and just wanted to let you know we're going to offer a sneak preview today to a podcast that will go up at midnight here from Oxnard. We sat down with Ring of Honor member and our good friend Darren Woodson and had some very revealing things to say, especially about his relationship and vantage point with Jimmy and Jerry and what he thinks could have happened had they stayed together. Here is that sneak preview.
I think both of them understand one thing. They didn't live in the moment back then. Because if they lived in the moment, we'd probably have 4 or 5 rings instead of the 2 that we had with Jimmy. I think it's their pride got in the way. Both of them realize that. Would they go back and change things? Probably not. Their pride would probably still be big in those situations. But I just think that those two, time has healed a lot of those wounds. And Jimmy's a different guy. I mean, you see Jimmy now from what he was in 92, 93, or back from 89 all the way. I mean, he was intense, felt like this was his team. And for the right reasons, Jerry felt like, hey, I pay you. And I pay all the rest of these coaches at the same time. So it's my team. So I can understand there being some issues. But, again, I should probably have 4 or 5 rings on my fingers if those 2 would have just gotten along.
Do you think it helped further the healing process between the 2, given what Jerry said on the stage?
Oh, absolutely.
On Saturday night, acknowledging Jimmy?
Listen, and I'm sure that they've had conversations before in the past and try to get over that situation. But I thought it meant a lot for what Jerry said. Hey, listen, we can take whatever we want from Jerry Jones and his history and all the good and bad of what he's brought, but the one thing that you will get out of him, you'll get some honesty. He's going to tell you, what's on his heart, and I think that's been weighing on his heart for a lot of years. And there's been a lot of repercussions that came out of that. I was a guy that in '93 we had just won the Super Bowl. I was in Phoenix, and when I found out Jimmy got fired, man, I was as pissed off as anyone. I mean, Michael Irvin, we saw what he did. Throwing garbage cans in the locker room. I mean, people were pissed because we knew we could have made history back then, and those 2 blew it flat out, plain and simple. They blew it.
You're still not over it?
No, man, because I should have 4 or 5 rings. I mean, honestly, I honestly felt like we were that dominant as a football team, and there was only another team, which was the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC, that could really deal with us. And we had beaten them 2 straight years, and I know they loaded up that third one year, but I think if Jimmy would have been there, would have whooped them again, in those couple of years. And we saw Green Bay was the next team that stepped up, but we owned Green Bay in those years. And when you got a good thing, man, it's hard to see it go.
It's one thing falling in love with a house, picturing yourself moving in and calling it home, and quite another navigating the world of price negotiating, mortgage lenders, and finding the budget that works best for you. An agent who's a Realtor can make understanding that world easier. Realtors have the expertise, access to proprietary data, and tools to help you get from imagining living somewhere to actually doing it. That's the kind of help we can provide. Because that's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Hey, it's Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
On today's podcast, Record Store Day founder Carrie Colleton is joining us to discuss the April 20th RSD special releases.
Plus, we'll talk live with our audience, the Sound Up Pod Squad, and find out who still listens to vinyl. And some updates from the Beatles universe.
Oh, good. Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.